Good morning, students. Today we are moving towards a new chapter from Book 2, Chapter 3, Politics of Plan Development. This chapter deals with the planning process, how India after independence has adopted the planning process in India and so on. So let's start. So this is the chapter from this NCERT book. This is the chapter, Politics of Plan Development. Okay. The background of the story is that after independence, now what to do? Like they are in challenges we have seen that they are to ensure the well-being of the society. They have to rebuild the nation again. So they have to take the economy in a right process, in a right path. So what has to be done so that their economy has to be is to be developed. So because when the Britishers left India, they have taken up lots of revenue from India, and many things have happened. Like economically India was very poor at that time, became poor at that time because even partition happened, and all these things led to the framers of the Indian constitution to adopt a new economic path, like what they will do. So let's start. After independence, the Indian economy was characterized by underdeveloped. So in that underdeveloped process, we have seen that there are many things like low per capita income. There is no income in the hands of the people. That led to low per capita income, backward forms of agriculture, because at that time there were only people used to go through a primitive process of agriculture, and that make Indian agricultural process weak. There was no industrial base in India at that time. High rate of population growth. Even at that time, many populations were there in India. Illiteracy is the biggest hurdle to Indian development. Poverty, because poverty, famine, all these things happened during the time of independence. We could have seen that there are poverty and famine in India. Lots of people, they don't have work to do, and all these things led to poverty in India. So at that time, India has adopted the strategy of planning development to overcome these problems. So on this process, there was two model of development they have thought of. One is Western liberal capitalist model that is followed in US and other capitalist countries, Western countries, and Soviet socialist model that is followed in the eastern side, mainly in USSR. So Nehru was very much influenced by this process, Soviet socialist model, right from before, because this is a state planning process, and Western liberal capitalist model was a privatization process. So Nehru wanted to go with a state planning process. So in 1955 at Avadi, Tamil Nadu, that time a session was held by the Congress under Nehru, and that in that session they have adopted the goal of socialistic pattern of society. Socialistic pattern of society means that Soviet model of society planning. In 1944, a group of big industrialists led by G.D. Birla prepared the Bombay Plan. First of all, planning commission directly didn't came. They prepared a Bombay Plan, and in that plan, they wanted the state to take major initiatives in industrial and other economic investment. Thus, planning for development was decided to be the best choice for India. So ultimately, they have gone through a planning process, and for their planning process through Bombay Plan, they went up with further process, and in that further process, what they have taken up the a thing called planning. So that's how we got the planning commission. I'm going directly from this book. This book has got the points very easily written down. So the planning commission, I'm starting from here. The planning commission was set up in 1950 by cabinet resolution. It was thus an extra constitutional body. It has no statutory or constitutional status. It is an advisory in nature, but in reality it is very powerful. It is called the economic cabinet of the country. The planning commission was set up in 1950 by a cabinet resolution, and that the planning commission was called economic cabinet of the country because under planning commission only the whole of the planning of the country was done. Okay. The planning commission was set up in 1950, and it worked for 5 years to 5 years, 5 years to 5 years. And the planning commission was under the leadership of Prime Minister as its chairman, and it has an economist as its deputy chairman, a few members, and a secretary. So all these people, they sat together and they take up the decisions to do planning for the country. So, as per the Cabinet Resolution 1950, the Planning Commission should see what they would have to go for. First of all, what decisions they have to take. The citizens, men and women, equally have the right to an adequate means of livelihood. That means all people, they have an right to live, right to go for their job and all these things. That the ownership and control of the natural resources of the country are so distributed as best to serve the common good. Natural resources, whatever natural resources India has, it has to be distributed so that all people get equal rights. That the operation of the economic system does not result in the concentration of wealth in the hands of a few. So that economic system should be so distributed that the concentration of wealth should not go in a few hands. All should get equally whatever resources has to be distributed in the country at that time. And the basic objectives that was taken up in the planning at that time, because Planning Commission has done many planning time to time, but at the initiative time they have taken up these things to build the industrial infrastructure, to build up the industry, because India does not have industry at that time. Only 1 or 2 industries had been set up by the British company. So industrial setup has to be done to expand and improve agricultural production, because India is an agricultural country, so agricultural production has to be expanded to lay down the foundation of a self-reliant economy. Self-reliant means that India should go with a self-sufficient economy in every sphere of economical side, to increase and distribute national wealth. National wealth, whatever schemes comes from the government, that has to be distributed equally. To remove unemployment, poverty, illiteracy and diseases. All these things has to be taken up carefully. To promote social justice, to give justice to all the people equally. To promote trade and commerce, infrastructure has to be done nicely. Communication system has to be done nicely. To make the Indian economy modern, efficient and competitive. So all these things has to be done up by the Indian Planning Commission at that time. So they have gone for the task, and Planning Commission was set up, and they have moved on with the Planning Commission to rebuild the Indian economy as better that they can do it. Okay, thank you.